To signal our collective determination that never again will the African peoples allow themselves to be captured and sold into slavery as commodities in foreign unknown lands to help build their wealth from whose enjoyment they were largely excluded. It would provide a bridge for the reunification of the global African family, to construct a new future of progress and prosperity for the black peoples of the world. And would also put the spotlight on Ghana's Pan-African credentials, showcasing Ghana's vision of bringing unity and dignity back to the process of social and economic development in Africa and in the African diaspora. Today, Russian mercenaries are on our northern border. Burkina Faso has now entered into an arrangement to go along with Mali in employing the Wagner forces there. I believe a mine in southern Burkina has been allocated to them as a form of payment for their services. Prime Minister of Burkina Faso in the last 10 days has been in Moscow. And to have them operating on our northern border is particularly distressing for us in Ghana. Apart from not accepting the idea of great powers once again making Africa their theater of operation, we have a particular position that you know about over the Ukraine war, where we have been very, very vocal and upfront about condemning the invasion of Russia by Russia. And therefore, they're now to have this group at our borders is a matter of some considerable disquiet and concern for us. And we really like to have a privileged opportunity to talk about its implications and what we believe ought to be the case. This is what took place with the discussion in the Congress yesterday, which I found very fruitful. And I would like that the themes of that discussion should be the things that we should continue to address. To what extent we can have you as a partner in confronting these threats. It is very important that ECOWAS and the West African area remains a democratic space. There's a reason for the actions we took over the coup d'etats in Burkina Faso, in Mali, and in Guinea. And ECOWAS has been very consistent in refusing to deal with these governments because of the undemocratic nature of their accession to power. The commitment to democratic values and institutions is a high priority for our states. We in Ghana have been through all kinds of arrangements, governance arrangements in the past, one-party state, all kinds of experiments have taken place. And our people are now very clear in their mind. They want to go down the avenue of democratic engagement. And that is why the last 30 years of the Fourth Republic have been the most stable in our country's history. We want to do everything to preserve that. But there are enemies of democracy who are working hard in West Africa today. And therefore, it's important that we bring that matter to your notice and see to what extent we can engage you as a reliable partner in the pushback of those forces.
So I want us to go all the way to Ghana and look at the president of Ghana. You know, the president of Ghana, Nana Akufo-Addo, is a very interesting man, yes. One time he's speaking Pan-Africanism, one time he's speaking that Africa should work towards getting away from the Western powers, you know. One time you understand that Ghana is the first country in Africa to attain independence from the West, you know. But this foundation was laid by the forefathers, of Ghana, who was Kwame Nkrumah, with the stronghold and with the persistence and the spirit of Pan-Africanism and nationalism that Kwame Nkrumah had. He was able to deliver Ghana from the shackles of the Western colonialism. But today it's different. The president of Ghana is the very person who called out African Americans to move to Africa.
Ghana has granted citizenship to several African Americans and Afro-Caribbeans as part of the Country Beyond the Return initiative to attract resettlement of Africa descendants. In 2019, Ghana successfully hosted the Year of Return with raft of activities at home and abroad to encourage the descendants of those who were forcibly sent into slavery to return home to Africa. Ghana has become a repatriation hotspot for many Black Americans over the last few years, since the country hosts, among others, the many castles and forts which were used in the slave trade. Ghana was used as a slave trade hub during the transatlantic slave trade. The Portuguese built the first permanent slave trading post at Elmina on the Gold Coast, now Ghana. This eventually passed through Dutch and English hands, and by the 18th century was handling 30,000 slaves each year. According to documented history, between 1650 and 1900, 10.2 million enslaved Africans arrived in the Americas from the 8 regions in Africa used for the slave trade. About 80% of the Africans who were enslaved and transported in the transatlantic slave trade went through the many castles and forts which can be found in Ghana.
You know, in 2019, during what we call the Year of Return, the Year of Return was an initiative that was started by the then president to call African Americans to Ghana to trace their ancestry. We know the troubles that the African Americans have been facing in USA. The same people that Ghana president right now is calling to for help, you know. Now, let's put that at an end for now. Remember, Ghana, Burkina Faso, and Mali, these 3 countries are countries that have been seriously fighting against imperialism. They've been fighting against French colonialism of their countries, you know. And so, because they would not get support from France and the West, as long as France, which is a member of NATO, denied the West, denied them their interest, as long as Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger denied France their interest in their countries, France cautioned the NATO. The NATO includes the United States. You know the NATO. Now, Burkina Faso, Mali, and France have been getting support from Russia and USSR, the Soviet Union, you know. So, this thing is troubling Nana Akufo-Addo because towards the, you know, Ghana is bordering Burkina Faso to the south. So Burkina Faso is the north of Ghana, and Ghana is the south of Burkina Faso. So it seems Nana Akufo-Addo has been getting reports about activities happening in Burkina Faso, and this is troubling him. Why should I be troubled by what my neighbor is doing in his house? As long as what he is doing is not harming someone, or harming himself, or harming me, I don't even care what he cooks. How will I get into his kitchen? That's his house, you know. But Nana Akufo-Addo is an interesting man because he wants to even get to your toilet and see what you are doing. You know, he wants to know the color of your feces. That's Nana Akufo-Addo. I find this not interesting because Nana Akufo-Addo is reporting these 3 African countries, or rather was reporting these 3 other African countries to the West. It seems that the West is some kind of savior where he has to report the issues. If he really wants to report issues, he should report them to the African Union, not to the West. The West, by any form or nature, is not the African Union. African issues should be dealt with in African issues. And it was such a bad thing that the West African countries refused to provide trade routes, to provide their seaports, to allow goods that are supposed to be reaching Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger to pass. The West African countries refused. Now that they're seeking power elsewhere, the people who refused are feeling bad.
And really pleased to have you here this week for the summit. So thank you, Mr. President. Appreciate the time.
So, Mr. Secretary, thank you very much. We'll just thank the American government for the invitation to participate in this summit. I think it's a summit that's been long overdue. I believe it's the second. The last time was, what, over 10 years ago? Yeah, perhaps we should be doing more. But it's good that it has happened. It gives us an opportunity to talk about many common threats and challenges that we have, which you've identified, and particularly for us, to be able to put into relief where we are. Yesterday I had I was part of an extremely useful meeting with the people from the Congress to come and talk about security matters. I believe that, Madam, you were there, you were part of the meeting. And its significance for us. And I think that beyond everything, that is a matter that I want to urge upon you.
That's how hypocritical sometimes we can be. We can be lying to one another, preaching wine, taking water. Nana Akufo-Addo is this same person. He is preaching Pan-Africanism, but he is acting something different from Pan-Africanism. Why would you report your neighbor to their enemies? Why would you do that? Why would you take your issues to the people who colonized you? This means that you are also a puppet. I personally think that the president, Nana Akufo-Addo, is showing a lot of pretense. One time calling African Americans home, another time exposing other African countries to their enemies. That is not what we Africans want. We want strong leaders such as Julius Malema, such as Julius Nyerere, such as Kwame Nkrumah, PLO Lumumba, Arikana Chihombori Kwao, Mia Mottley, Naledi Pandor, name them all. These people are standing strong and they are standing against Western imperialism. If we are still in the age of wanting to take goods or wanting to be on the good side of the West at the expense of the African people, then maybe these people are not fit to be leaders. Leaders should take people away from oppression to freedom. That is all I have to say about this video. I hope you enjoyed, and kindly, if you enjoyed this video, show your support, show your care by subscribing to the channel, and also join my Patreon, become a member of the channel, join my Patreon, and also subscribe, give super thanks, and see you in the next video. Remember to stay African, stay loved.